Hello students, as you have already seen in the last lecture that we have already discussed about the structure of the heart, and there we have discussed that our heart is made up of 4 chambers and there are blood vessels, that is pulmonary artery, pulmonary vein and the aorta. So today our topic of discussion will be blood vessels. Now what are the blood vessels? Blood vessels are the structures through which the blood flow from one part of the body to the other. So there are blood vessels which will carry blood which is oxygenated from the heart to all the parts of the body. Then there are blood vessels which will carry the oxygenated blood from the other parts of the body to the heart for the purification or addition of oxygen. So heart is the pumping organ, and there are blood vessels which are very small, the smallest one, which are called as capillaries. So there are 3 types of blood vessels in our body: arteries, veins and capillaries. So the arteries take the blood from the heart to the rest of the body. All the arteries except pulmonary artery has the function of carrying the blood from the heart to all the parts of the body. So it will carry oxygenated blood, and pulmonary artery will carry impure blood or deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs. So only exception is pulmonary artery. Now, what are the features of the arteries? They are having thick and elastic walls, because blood flow through them in very high pressure because it has been pumped from the heart. So it has thick and elastic walls. It has no valves because it will allow the blood to flow in a continuous direction with high pressure. So there is no requirement of any valves. Now the next type of blood vessel is veins. So this blood vessel will carry deoxygenated blood from all the body parts to the heart for the addition of the oxygen or purification in the lungs. So from all the body parts, blood will be carried to the heart for further purification through all the veins except pulmonary vein, which will carry oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart. So the only veins which will carry oxygenated blood is the pulmonary vein, which will carry oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart. Now the characteristic feature of veins, just opposite to that of the arteries, they are having thin walls and they have valves. Now already you have some knowledge about valves. So valves are those structures that will allow the blood to flow in only one direction. So since the pressure of the blood in the veins are very less because they are coming from the body parts, so they need valves to prevent the backflow of the blood. And the smallest vessel are the capillaries, which are only 1 cell thick. Here the capillaries help in the diffusion of the gases, mainly in the alveoli. So they form a network. Now, how the capillary is formed, that I am going to explain. Arteries, veins and capillaries are the main blood vessels. Now, the arteries will branch off to form arterioles. Smaller branches of artery will form the arterioles. So, as you all know, the organs are made up of tissues, and tissues are made up of cells. Many cells combine together to form tissues, and many tissues combine to form the organ. So the blood will be carried by the veins from the organs to the heart. Now, when the veins are carrying the blood from the organ to the heart, and the artery is also carrying oxygenated blood and coming to the organ up to the cell to give its oxygen from the blood. So there will be the diffusion of the gases, that is, the oxygen will be taken by the cells and carbon dioxide will be given out, and this will take place by the process of the diffusion, that is, movement of the molecules from higher concentration to lower concentration. So this will always take place in the capillary level, where arteries branch to from arterioles, veins branches to from venules, and at a point they form a network. So this finest branches form here is called the capillaries. So they are mostly found, as you have studied before, in the alveoli, where exchange of gases will take place by the process of diffusion, and so they are 1 cell thick for facilitating the diffusion of the gases. So we got 3 names of blood vessels: arteries, veins, and capillaries. Now, along with the RBC and that is WBC, red blood cells, and white blood cells, our blood also has platelets which help in clotting. Now, what is clotting? Suppose we have got any injury and blood is coming out, then you have always seen that after some time the blood does not come out anymore, does not flow out anymore, and it stops flowing out from the injury site. So what is the process? That is called as the clotting. The solidification of the blood in the outer portion of the skin, and then the color of the skin also changes after we get an injury. After about 1 or 2 days, the skin becomes slightly brownish in color, blackish brown in color, and blood clots. Blood never comes out continuously. So they help in clotting and repairing the leaks. If there are any leaks in the blood vessels, so platelets will help in clotting and repairing the leaks. So in our body, the blood is made up of a liquid part, that is plasma, and the cellular part that contains red blood cells, white blood cells, and the platelets. Then we have another liquid which is called the tissue fluid, which can be also called as the lymph. So along with blood, the lymph also helps in transportation, which is also called tissue fluid just now, as I told. So the walls of the capillaries are having lots of pores. So there are pores in the walls of the capillaries, and through these pores some amount of plasma, proteins, and the blood cells escape into the intercellular spaces, and it forms the tissue fluid or the lymph. So how the lymph is formed? Lymph is formed by the plasma, proteins, and the blood cells that escape into the intercellular spaces in the tissues. So what is intercellular spaces? The space between the cells are called as intercellular spaces. So through the capillary walls, some amount of plasma will come out, some amount of proteins will come out, some amount of blood cells will come out, and they will form the tissue fluid, which is also called as the lymph. Now the tissue fluid or the lymph is fluid, and it is colorless and contains very less amount of protein. So the lymph will drain itself in the lymph capillaries from the intercellular spaces, and then they join to form large lymph vessels. Like the blood vessels, they will also form the large lymph vessels, and these lymph vessels will open into the larger vessels. Now what will the lymph carry? It will carry the digested and the absorbed fat. From where? From the small intestine, and drains the excess fluid from the space back into the blood. So whatever excess fluid will be there, it will be drained and it will be taken back into the blood. So actually the lymph is formed by the escaping of the blood cells, by the proteins, and by some plasma from the capillary walls. So what is the function of the lymph? It will carry the digested and the absorbed fat from where? From the intestine, and then drains that fluid from the extracellular space back into the blood. Now we come to transportation in plants. So as in human being and other animals there is transportation, similarly transportation is also present in the plants. So plants will take in the simple compounds such as carbon dioxide and then start photosynthesizing, and where they will photosynthesize? In the leaves. So chlorophyll is there, sunlight will be attracted towards them, and from the soil they will take up the minerals like nitrogen, phosphorus. So it will go through the roots to the whole plant, distributed towards the leaves also, so that each part of the plant get its nutrients from the soil. So each and every part of the plant will get its materials or the nutrients that is required for their growth. So now the roots have to carry the water and the minerals and will be sending to the leaves. So the distance is very important in this case. If the structures are present near the soil, so they can easily carry the water, and the organs up to which they have to reach, that is the root has to carry the water, so water has to reach to the top of the plant, so their leaves are present. So the distance is a very important factor. So soil contacting organs and chlorophyll containing organs. So what is the soil contacting organs? Roots, and chlorophyll containing organ is the leaves. So the root has to carry the water to the leaves, and if the distance is very less, then they can diffuse easily. If the distance is large, then the means of transportation should be there. Otherwise it will be very difficult for the roots to send the water to the leaves in the tall plants, tall trees, as you can say. So distance is a very important factor. If it is very close to each other, then the elements can diffuse easily from one cell to the other. But if it is very large, as in tall trees, then there should be transportation system. And in plants, the transportation system includes vascular tissue, xylem and phloem. So xylem will carry the water through the roots from the soil, and phloem will carry foods from the leaves to other parts of the body. It can carry the food from the leaves to all the parts, so it can carry in all the directions, but roots will carry the water only in one direction, that is from the soil to the upper part, that is towards the leaves of the plant. So as you all know, the xylem's tissue is made up of xylem vessels, tracheids, xylem fibers and xylem parenchyma. So mainly the vessels and the tracheates will help in the conduction of the water from the roots towards the leaves. So they form the water conducting system. So how they will conduct the water? So from the soil, the water will enter and it has to go to the cells of the root. Slowly, due to the difference in the concentration, water column is created. So what is this concentration? Always you know that water will flow from higher concentration to lower concentration. So in the soil, if the water is more, it will try to enter into the roots, the root hair cells, and slowly it will be transferred from one cell to the other, all because of difference in concentration, and the water will move from higher concentration to lower concentration, and continuously there will be steady movement of water into the root xylem, and there will be a water column that will be created which will steadily push the water upwards. So this continuously takes place, but this pressure is not enough to move the water over the heights that we commonly see in the plants. So there are other methods or other policies which the plant use to continuously allow the water to go inside the plants. That is, the pulling force that should be there so that the water can be taken in by the upper parts of the plant. So if the plant is supplied by adequate amount of water, then the plant can take in the water continuously, and the water column will go up till the end part of the plant in the top, even in the tall trees also. So as you all know that there are loss of water in the form of water vapor, which is called as transpiration. So the transpiration is the process in which excess water is lost through the leaves in the form of water vapor. So as the transpiration will take place, then there is a suction force that is created which pulls the water from the xylem cells of the roots. So transpiration also helps in absorption and the upward movement of the water and minerals from the roots to the leaves. So this is very important, that transpiration helps in absorption and the movement, the upward movement, if you can say, the upward movement of water minerals from the roots to the leaves. So if transpiration is faster, the rate of absorption of water from the roots will also be faster. So this creates a pool that is called as transpiration pool. So what is this transpiration pool? When during the daytime the water is absorbed through the roots and then sent to the leaves, and again water is evaporating due to transpiration, it creates a pool, and so it will continuously absorb the water. This is the pool created by transpiration. So this is called as transpiration pool. And this also helps in the temperature regulation. Now root pressure is also there, which also help in the transport of water in the plants during the night. In the daytime there is transpiration due to the effect of sunlight. So this will continue, but at night what happens? Due to the root pressure, the water will try to go inside the plant through the roots and to each and every part. So when during the daytime the stomata is open, so this will help in the movement of the water into the plants, but during the night time the pressure of the roots which will allow the water to go inside the plants, and then the transportation of water will take place easily. So already we have discussed about the transport of water and minerals, and next is the transport of the food in the plants. Now the food that is formed during the process of photosynthesis becomes soluble, and this transport of soluble products from the leaves to all the parts of the plant is called as translocation. So what tissue or which tissue will help in the translocation process is the phloem. So phloem will carry the prepared food in the soluble form from one cell to the other throughout the plant body in both directions. So this process is called as translocation. Along with the product of photosynthesis, the phloem will carry amino acids and other substances also. Now, what are these substances? Will be kept in the storage organs like roots, fruits, seeds, and to the growing organs also. So the phloem is carrying the prepared food along with amino acids and other materials. So they will be taken up to the storage organs, they will be stored there, and also they will be taken by the growing organs for their growth. As you all know, the phloem is made up of sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. So out of those four, sieve tubes and companion cell will work together to help in translocation. So the sieve tubes, with the help of the companion cells, they help in carrying the food up and down, that is bidirectional ways. It is not in unidirectional way, but it is bidirectional because food has to reach to all the parts of the plant body. So sieve tubes and companion cells of the phloem will carry the food in both the direction. That is why it is bidirectional, both up and down throughout the plant. The xylem will carry the water from one cell to the other by the physical forces, but the translocation in the phloem will be done by the help of the energy. So the phloem tissue will transfer the products that is formed in the photosynthesis by getting the energy from the ATP. And what is ATP? The energy currency of the cell. So this will increase the osmotic pressure of the tissue, causing the water to move into it. And this pressure will allow the movement of the material in the phloem to the tissues which have less pressure. So this will be caused, and the movement will be caused by the osmotic pressure. So from high pressure, it will go towards the area which is having the less pressure, and this will be helped by the ATP, which is the energy currency. So whenever the plant is in need of the materials, that is the food, it will be carried by the phloem with the help of the energy, and whenever the plant needs, it will be supplied. Food will be stored in the different parts of the plant like roots, stems and all, and whenever it will be required, it will be supplied to all the parts of the body during growth and development. So the osmotic pressure is the main force acting in the carriage of the food inside the phloem. So it will carry the food from a region of high pressure to low pressure with the help of ATP. So you have seen here that the xylem will carry the water from the roots to all the parts of the plant by the movement of the water from one cell to the other, and this can be activated by transpiration, full root pressure like this. But the phloem will have to transport the materials from one place to another. They can allow the materials to be stored in the storage organs, and whenever required they can supply it to the different parts of the body, and for all this energy in the form of ATP will be needed, and which will create osmotic pressure so that it can transfer the materials from a region of high pressure to the region of the less pressure. So this way the food can be transferred from the leaves to different parts of the plant, and for which the tissues need what? Energy. So today we have discussed about the different types of blood vessels, the lymph, and we have discussed the transportation in plants. So in the next video I will be discussing about the next life process, that is excretion.